Welcome to MissouriNet.com and the Missouri Department of Conservation, our next to last Google Hangout on adult onset hunting. I can't believe that we're almost through this experience. I'm joined today by Jim Lowe from the Missouri Department of Conservation, their new services coordinator, who's been so gracious over the last couple of months. You've taken time to kind of show me the ropes when it comes to waterfowl hunting, and you've shared your experiences and expertise with me. And certainly appreciate you coming along with us today and everything that you've done for me. It's been a lot of fun, Jim.
Oh, this has been at least as much fun for me as it has for you, Bill.
Jim, let's talk now. People have watched our series and they saw me go deer hunting. Now we're going duck hunting. What are the big differences between duck and deer hunting?
Well, deer hunting is largely a question of ambush hunting. You're trying to know enough about the deer's habits and its behavior patterns to be where it's going to be and to be that animal. Waterfowl is more like turkey hunting in that you have to get the game to come to you. And that means interacting with it, actively engaging the animal, trying to fool it into believing that that there are ducks on the water down where you are, that it's a place that it would like to come down and either rest or eat, and getting it to come in to within shotgun range. Shotgun range is relatively short compared to that of a deer rifle, so. You're talking about getting the birds within 30 or at most 40 yards, and for an animal that has been encountering humans, hunters ever since it left Canada or North Dakota, to overcome its natural wariness about new situations, it's a challenge.
It's really like a chess match, and you have to have some patience sometimes, and there's more. As I've talked to people that have deer hunted as opposed to, or duck hunted as opposed to deer hunt, they said that you really got to be on top of your game. There's more of a give and take. There's more of a playfulness, a chess match type of scenario with duck hunting than deer hunting.
Yeah, you have to really be aware of the bird's behavior. To know when to call and when not to call, what sort of calls to make. Birds that are the rule of thumb for duck hunters is if a duck is flying toward you, you don't call because you can only mess that situation up. But knowing how loud to call, and whether to throw it a hail call or a feeding chuckle or a contented mallard quack. Those are things that you not only learn over time, but there is no universal solution. It's different every time, and watching whether a bird or a group of birds seem to be hesitant, or whether they look like they just want to come your way. All of those things every day, every group of birds that comes in, the situation is a little different, and you have to tailor your behavior to that.
And one of the things that I got from you as we were out in the field and talking is that these animals are very smart.
Well, they're smart in the way that they need to be, just like we are. They can read a situation. They look down if they see a lot of birds on the water, decoys in this case, but there's no movement. There's no wind to have those decoys just sort of bobbing around like ducks do naturally. That looks wrong to them, and they probably are going to give you wide berth, fly around, look 2 or 3 times to memorize what that looks like for future reference, and then they're going to be off somewhere else. Motion wing decoys, what people frequently call robo-ducks or mojos, those can be very effective in catching a group of ducks' attention at long distance, hundreds of yards, half a mile away. And they will come in to investigate that, to see what's going on down there. But if they've seen that a dozen times before and it has never ended well for them, then they're going to come close enough to see that robo and say, yeah, no, I don't think we're doing this. On the other hand, a robo-duck can be very effective with inexperienced ducks, or with ducks that are just motivated. They've flown all night long. They're tired. They're hungry. They want to sit down, and sometimes they will ignore their natural wariness, and they will come on in. So it's something that's new every time you do it.
Talking with Jim Lowe from the Missouri Department of Conservation. I'm Bill Pollock. My first time hunting. We've done the deer. We're moving on to the duck. Before we go into our hunt, I've talked with people that not big hunters themselves, and there's been some questions, general questions that kind of come up. And so, Jim, I thought maybe what we could do is, before we talk specifically about our hunt, is just go through some of these questions and maybe do a rapid-fire Q&A, if that's all right with you.
Sure.
The first question is, where can I duck hunt in Missouri?
Well, gee, a heck of a lot of places, really. The first place that comes to mind is Conservation Department owned and managed wetland areas, and there's over a dozen of those. There are places that are specifically managed to provide habitat that's very attractive to ducks for a couple of reasons. One is to provide hunting opportunity, and the other is to provide resting and feeding habitat for migrating waterfowl. And they use these areas not only in the fall when we hunt, but in spring as well. And they're extremely important to ducks to have places that they can go and find food and refuge. These state-owned wetland areas all have a designated refuge area that's never hunted, and that gives ducks a place that they can be and be safe and find food. And it also encourages them to stay in the area because they aren't shot at everywhere they go. So if you want to hunt one of these areas, they all have draws, and there's two different types of drawing that are held. You can find out about that online. It gets a little bit involved to explain it all, but it comes down to the fact that there's more demand for hunting on those areas than there is supply. So in order to make sure that those areas are not overcrowded and that everybody has a quality hunting experience, the Conservation Department limits access to them by holding drawings to see who gets to hunt. Beyond that, Missouri's big rivers, the Mississippi, the Missouri, the Osage, and some of the other tributaries of the Missouri and the Mississippi have excellent duck hunting opportunities. It takes a little bit more gear and expertise to hunt those areas. Usually they're places that people begin hunting after they break in on the more easily accessed state-owned areas. You can just jump shoot ducks. Don't need any decoys. Don't need a dog. If you have a pond on your property, or if you have a friend who has a pond, or if you scout conservation areas around the states, a lot of them have bodies of water on them, whether it's rivers, oxbow lakes, ponds, where ducks will be during the fall migration period, and you can sneak up on those ducks and pop up and shoot at them. That's the majority of it. And there are a lot of different styles of duck hunting. I know some people in the Ozarks, where there are not a lot of wetland areas, love to jump shoot ducks on Ozark streams. They will camouflage the front of a canoe, and either singly or with a partner, they will paddle up on ducks very slowly and quietly. And then when they're close enough, they'll take the shot. So there's a lot of ways to hunt ducks.
If someone is going to go duck hunting, and I know you talked about different types, but is it essential to have decoys and duck calls? I mean, what are the bare basics for somebody that wants to try this? What do they really need?
The most common and easiest way to hunt ducks is with decoys, and you don't need a lot of decoys. 2 dozen is more than enough. A lot of times a dozen is enough. And of course, the idea of the decoys is to give ducks the impression that there's already ducks on the water. It's a place where ducks would like to be, and to get them to come down and join those ducks on the water. So, for the most part, most people would want at least a dozen, maybe 2 or 3 dozen decoys to get started. you need duck call, which doesn't have to be an expensive thing. You can get a perfectly good duck call for $10 or $20. My current favorite is one that I think I bought for $7.99 at Cabela's. It was on their clearance table right at the beginning of hunting season. I guess they hadn't sold it the year before, and it is my go-to call now. Of course, once you get into it, you can pay about as much for a duck call as you want. If you want a $250 duck call, by golly, somebody's going to sell it to you.
Now, hey, where can you go and practice these duck calls? You know, that was one of the things that that I thought about too. I mean, it's got to take some practice. You don't want to, you know, send off some odd sound that would scare people, or people and ducks away, I guess, huh?
Well, there's a couple of ways that you can learn that. Probably the best way is to go with an experienced duck hunter, so that you not only hear the calls and can hear what they should sound like, but you see how they're employed with various duck behaviors. There's also some good CDs on the market that you can buy that will teach you how to call ducks, how to use a call. A lot of times, if you buy a call and maybe it comes as a box set with a lanyard hang around your neck and a CD to help you learn how to use that call effectively. But those are the two best ways, and if you can possibly get with a duck hunter, and most duck hunters are very eager to talk about duck hunting and to show a newcomer the ropes. They can teach you a lot in a very short time, and they can correct you. They can say, "Oh my God, no, don't do that. That sounds awful."
That's the one thing I didn't try, but I certainly brought you along, my expert. So tell people where we were hunting and kind of take us through the day as you remember it, and then I'll share my funny story and my non-attempt at what happened that day, and we'll just run some video of us basically sitting out in the field and waiting that day.
Okay. Well, we had a not bad day for duck hunting. The wind was a little bit on the slack side. We could have used a little bit more wind to get motion in the decoys, but we got out there a little bit before shooting light, which legal shooting time begins 30 minutes before sunrise. And we were hunting on a marsh that I am a co-owner of. Muscle Fork Legacy Marsh is enrolled in the Federal Wetland Reserve Program. That's a program that offers landowners incentives to put a permanent easement on their property that floods frequently. This started out as farm ground that was minimally productive because it would flood about 2 or 3 years out of 5. So it's now permanently marshland, and we had good water conditions. Like I say, the wind could have been better, but it wasn't bad. As I recall, we had a west wind, and that meant that ducks coming in would generally be coming out of the east, so that they're flying into that wind. They like that because if they see something wrong at the last minute, they've got that wind under their wings, and they can get out of there quick. So ducks almost always land into the wind. So we got out there in time to put out a few decoys. In a small place like that, we weren't in a vast amount of water, so you didn't really need 8 dozen decoys. I think we had maybe 2 dozen out, and we saw a few birds. It was a little early in the season. We really didn't have many birds, many ducks in Missouri at that point. So we were kind of lucky to see as many birds as we did.
And one of the keys too is you follow the wind direction, because that kind of helps determine how you set up and how you set your decoys up too, right?
It absolutely does. One of the most common ways to set up your decoys is to look at where the wind's coming from. If at all possible, you would like to have the sun at your back so that it is not in your eyes and it is in the duck's eyes. That puts you in shadow relative to the ducks so that they have a little bit harder time seeing you. And then at the same time, you would like the wind to be at your back so that that wind is blowing out in front of you and the ducks are flying in toward you, or maybe quartering in from the left or the right. So in that situation, you would want the birds to have an open place to land, and so you would leave an open water right in front of you. And the way that you and I set up was to have, since we thought the birds would be coming in from the east, we set up our decoys in kind of a J pattern so that there was a pocket created in the curve of that J, and then birds coming in would want to stop before reaching the other birds, because for some reason, I guess there's duck etiquette. Ducks prefer not to fly over ducks on the water if they can avoid it. So they've got a clear landing path into that little pocket of open water right in front of you, but they don't want to go beyond that because they'd be flying over other ducks. And that was the way that it worked out with the one bird that we had that worked in and came in. He was textbook. He flew into the wind and was about to land right in that pocket in front of us.
And I want to talk to you because as we're watching this video, you have your dog Willow with us.
It's Willa. She's named for Willa Cather, the famous author.
Just a doll of a dog. And I mean, you talk about well-behaved, quiet, because you have to be quiet, because as you mentioned, ducks can pick up on the slightest thing. You can see us wearing masks. I mean, they can see our faces. That reflects to them. So, I mean, you have to be still, and she was just great. I mean, you really have to hunker down and be still. Otherwise, you as you told me, you're going to spook the ducks.
Hiding is very important with ducks. Deer hunting, you're wearing hunter orange and you're kind of exposed if you're up in a tree stand, but if you sit still all the time, only moving as much as you absolutely have to, your chances of having a deer come in to you are very good. With waterfowl, you don't have to be sitting still all the time, but anytime there are birds around you, and of course you're never sure that there aren't birds coming in from behind you or whatever, but it's less important to sit still until you see birds in the air with waterfowl hunting, and once you do see them, then it is critical to sit still. And yes, Willa is, boy, she's a dream. She's kind of a rowdy, energetic dog at home, but for some reason in the marsh, once you sit down, she parks herself and she does not move very much at all. She's really a dream to work with.
It's important to have a good partner like that, definitely. All right, so let me bring us to our point. We were out there. How because we don't have this on video because it was actually it was still relatively dark. But how soon after we were ready to go did we see our first duck? It was pretty quick, wasn't it? I remember it being dark.
I don't think it was much more than 45 minutes, so maybe 15 minutes after sunrise. Of course, sunrise that day was not visible. It was overcast, so we couldn't see the sun. But yeah, it was fairly early, and just that one lone mallard drake.
So we're sitting there, just to give you an idea, as you saw in that video. We're sitting there, and this duck comes screaming in from the left. So this is my first time now. And Jim, like the pro he is, springs into action. And I'm watching this, and I'm thinking one of two things is going to happen, Jim. You're either going to hit the duck, and the duck's going to go in the water, or you're going to miss, and the duck's going to keep on going. And you rattle off two shots, and the duck kind of is like staggered. It's kind of flopping around there. And I'm sitting there with my safety gun propped up with the safety on, and you're yelling at me, shoot, it's your turn, shoot, it's your turn. And I froze. I didn't even get a shot off.
Actually, you said that bird screamed in. He was, for a duck, he came in pretty slowly. He wanted to land. He really did.
Oh my gosh!
And he was sort of flapping his wings and trying to figure out where he wanted to drop in when I fired at him first, because he had flown past you and you were on my left. He came in from the left, and since you hadn't shot and he was by then beyond me to the right, I went ahead and shot. And like you say, the desired outcome is to fire one time and have that bird be killed and fall onto the water. That's not the way it always happens. And in this case, I saw the bird stagger in the air when I fired at him the first time. He turned to fly away, and I fired again, and I felt good about that shot, but I didn't see much reaction. And then I said, shoot, Bill, shoot, and you were still trying to find your safety when he was out of range. So after you've hunted ducks for a while, you learn that after something like that happens, you don't just sit down and forget about it. You watch that bird, because I was pretty sure I had hit it the first time at least. And I watched him, and as you said, it was still early. It was kind of dark. It was kind of foggy. Um, I watched him until he flew out of sight, but I could see that he was losing altitude the whole time. And I was convinced that, as often happens, a bird that is hit like that is going to fly 1, 2, 300 yards, sometimes even farther, before falling out of the sky. And later on in the morning, I took Willa down there, and we did find him.
And so that was the importance of needing to sit and talk about our protocol of when to shoot, who shoots, and it was one of those. It was funny when I tell the story to my friends all the time now, and I laugh about it. It's like you basically set me up. I mean, the thing was there. You couldn't have asked for a better opportunity for me, and I was so enthralled watching you that I didn't react. So I want another opportunity, Jim.
Well, we can arrange that. Yeah, that's not an uncommon reaction, especially the first time. You want to take it all in, and you were certainly doing that. You were taking it in very well. And of course, being unfamiliar with the equipment, you had used the shotgun before. You knew where the safety was, but it wasn't automatic for you. And those situations do occur pretty quickly. If you may have 3 or 4 seconds to get a shot off, and if you're still looking for your safety at the end of that 2 or 3 seconds, well, that's the end of that one for you.
You're in trouble like I was. So. But you did. You got the mallard duck, and so now what we'll do on our next Google Hangout is actually show people how to prepare that. We did get a doe, so we'll have Kyle back, and we'll go through all of that, how to prepare these delicious meals and menus, and you have so many different recipes, and so we'll go over that on our next Google Hangout. Does that sound good?
That sure does.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, thanks for and again, thank you. And I do want a chance now that I saw it in action. It seems when you're out there hunting, and I'll tell this for the newcomers, everything seems real slow, and you have to be kind of deliberate, and you have to watch. But boy, when the action is there, I mean, you've got to be ready to go. You can't be a bystander like I was. That's for sure. Jim Lowe from the Missouri Department of Conservation, our News Services Coordinator. Thank you again for taking me out and joining us here on this Google Hangout.
Thank you, Bill. I look forward to hunting with you again. We'll give you a chance to redeem yourself.
That sounds good. Thanks for watching this, and remember to check back throughout the website on the Missouri Department of Conservation and MissouriNet.com, and you can go all the way back to the beginning of our series and see how to get started. And then, of course, as we mentioned, our final hangout of the series will be preparing and eating our harvest. So we hope you join us for that. Thanks a lot for watching.